This Soonerscoop.com video is streaming in crystal clear 4K resolution on YouTube thanks to Enjoy Vision in Oklahoma City. Don't miss a moment on or off the field. Make every day a highlight with LASIK at Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Sooner Scoop LASIKs.
Hello and welcome to the Family Business. I'm Joe Castiglione Jr. alongside Isaac Stoops. Pretty pumped today. We got a dog in the house. Former Oklahoma player, Jaguars, Texans, Redskins, all Big 12 performer, Aaron Colvin. AC, what's up, man?
What up, what up? Appreciate y'all having me, man.
Yes, sir.
Man, it's a blast. I mean, it's a good time to have you on because we got a couple of questions. We're going to talk about BV, of course. We're going to talk about one of Oklahoma's young corners and just kind of a couple other things. But wanted to ask you, you were in high school. We were talking about before air from Owasso. What were your first impressions when, Brent and Bob came in to recruit you? What kind of vibe did you get from them when they were coming after you in high school?
Well, my path to OU was a little different than most. At the time, Isaac, your pops was bringing in 5 stars, year after year. And so I wasn't really that coveted at the time. I had got hurt my junior year, and so my recruitment kind of slowed down. But going into my senior year, with the help of Gabe Lynn's dad, we just went on like a camp tour. Anywhere we could get to, I kind of showed up, and OU was one of them. And so I did a few drills, did some one-on-ones, and I'll never forget, Coach Stoops came down. He basically was like, "Well, I don't need to see no more. Just come see me in my office after the camp's over with, and we'll have a conversation." And the rest was history, really. So for me, I didn't grow up an OU fan. I didn't really grow up in Oklahoma in my formidable years. I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee, so I was kind of an SEC boy. Miami, Florida State, some of those, SEC schools. And I just really went to OU off the strength of the history, the legacies, just Coach Stoops being who he was, OU being who they were at the time. And I went in there with like a clean slate. So my first impressions and my thoughts about Coach Stoops and even Coach V were they knew what they were doing. I feel like Coach Stoops he was one of the best leaders I've ever been around. He was a great delegator. He knew who needed to do what. He never tried to do too much, in my opinion. And then Coach V, for me, he was just a mastermind. We weren't necessarily super close. We didn't have like a super close relationship, but it was definitely respectable. I held him with high regards, and honestly, he's probably the greatest defensive line I've ever played for.
Yeah, I mean, Sooner fans are really finding that out quickly. So when he left and Mike came back, the fan base was kind of ready to move on, and Mike was seen as someone who's going to, make it universally better on the defensive side. What were, your thoughts and your defensive unit's thoughts during that transition?
We knew it was going to be a big loss. Schematically, we knew some things were going to change. Mike was a lot heavier on man-to-man coverage. Coach V, he did everything under the sun. A lot of zone blitzes. Like every week, it felt like a new playbook. So we didn't really know what to expect too much. But me just being young at the time, it didn't hit me as hard as some of the older guys. I think I was just focused on being as locked down as I could. So it was all good, though, bro. It happens, college and the league.
Yeah.
You kind of towards the early 2010s, mid-2010s, you were a part of like the Oklahoma defenses that were kind of seen as like the last good defenses until now, what we've seen on the field. Did it kind of hurt you to see like when Oklahoma's defense started to decline a little bit in the later 2010s and then early 2020?
Man, it hurt me, just being a defensive guy and someone who prided himself on doing his job right every single time, winning my matchup every single time. And as I got more comfortable in my role of leadership, I tried to hold others to the same standard. So, just kind of watching the steady decline, I hate to even say that because I feel like I sound like a hater, but it just didn't feel like the same standard, you know what I mean? And that was really hard to watch. And I started to see some technical things changing. But, it was a slippery slope because the offense was rolling. Like
Right. Yeah.
I had never seen offenses play at such a high level besides, the like '08 and like Sam Bradford days.
Yeah.
But me personally, I never saw the Bakers and the Kyler Murrays and Jalen Hurts type of offenses. So it was like, for me, man, just win at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But it never really subsided, I guess, watching the corners, because I'm like, come on, y'all. Like,
Yeah.
but I just didn't really know how to be a part of that. I didn't really want to step on anybody's toes. I was playing at the time, so I was kind of hit or miss. I was inconsistent in how I showed up. So it was a challenge, bro. It's still a challenge, honestly.
We have a lot of competitive depth now, and at all across the defense. And you played early, as a freshman. What were or who were some of the older guys that kind of showed you the ropes when you came in at Oklahoma and kind of showed you like this is a standard and we don't deviate from it?
Yeah, man, it was really all the upperclassmen, to be honest. I think the standard was upkept by those guys. You had some who were more vocal than others, like Jonathan Nelson. I don't know if y'all remember Carter, Quentin Carter.
Oh, yeah, dog.
We had Travis Lewis, like some of those guys who were just, the standard was the standard. And whether they said it or not, you just watched how they moved, how they operated. And if you weren't, you might get punched in your chest. But I kind of finished towards the end of that kind of era where it was just dogs on top of dogs on top of dogs. And I think we tried to uphold that, man, but I definitely couldn't have done it without like a Jay Nell or a Jamel Fleming, and even some of the older guys that weren't necessarily there with me, like Dominique Franks, Brian Jackson, Jermaine Gresham. Like, them dudes were still kind of hovering around and making sure that we was moving how we were supposed to.
I'm about to throw do you remember, I got a throwback now. Do you remember, AC, I think you were part of this too, but the defensive backs were the Sharks.
The Sharks.
And so the Sharks. And so I had this wallpaper on like my first iPod Touch, and it was like all them, like some great edit, it was like the entire.
That's when
Sharks.
they had the inside access for like training camp, and there's like videos of like I'm like tackling my brother all over the equipment, and Travis called us the Terror Squad or something.
Young Bulls. Yeah, y'all boys y'all was menaces back in the day.
My mom sent us there to get us out of the house.
Bro, y'all was tearing the whole locker room up.
Hey, y'all go to practice, wear out all that energy, and then come back home with your pops, and then like, hey, it's a wrap from that.
Yeah.
But I remember that because one of the great, like OU Texas, one of the blowouts years when we were blowing them out, there was like a pick six. I think it was Jamel Fleming, like took it to the crib and then like did the Sharks right in the. But I was like, that was a cold ass.
You still keep up with Jamel at all? I randomly coached with his dad at Moore High School, like my sophomore year of college. He was on the defensive side or offensive, and I don't know. I haven't heard Jamel's name in forever.
Yeah, that's random. No, I haven't seen Jamel. We played 1 year together in Jacksonville. Actually, my rookie year, he was there.
Okay.
And I stayed with him during the offseason. But after that, man, I think we might have had a few conversations, but nothing too crazy. I think he's heavy into like working out and powerlifting and stuff. So
gotcha.
I think he's doing all right, hopefully.
Like this guy, man.
I'm telling you, you take a couple paths after you get done playing. It's like, hey, well, the people who actually like played, unlike myself, played on the field, like their bodies are so beat up at me. I'm like, I got to go get what I got to go get. Just bringing it back to BV for a little bit, because of that decline. But the good news is now, like, it seems like this Oklahoma defense is back, and he's worked to change that narrative. Is it because you said you played a couple years of BV, but like, is it any surprise that once he came back, like, there's been a steady incline in this Oklahoma defense and culture?
I don't think it's a surprise. I mean, the proof was in the pudding when he was at Clemson, so he was still the same BV. I was interested to see how that would play out as far as him being a head coach instead of just a DC, but I think he's kind of found some balance. I think he's kind of stepped back into the role of what's made him great for all these years. So that combined with him getting his guys in, people who can fit his scheme, because it's a very complicated scheme. Like, it's not just all about talent with BV. You have to truly understand concepts. You have to really be a student of the game, or you'll stick out, you'll have a lot of bust, and everybody will know it. So, no, I would say definitely not surprised, but the type of year they're having this year, I didn't expect it, to be honest with you. I didn't know it would be like this. I don't know if I've ever seen a D-line like this since like the GK days. You know? The boys are serious.
When you got to the NFL, was like learning the defensive scheme there almost simpler than learning BVs, or did BVs just set you up to run NFL style defenses?
You know, in the NFL, you have like these trees. So you got a few teams that do this type of scheme, another, and it's all kind of similar, but you know, you have a heavier cover 3 type of scheme, you have a heavier man-to-man type of scheme, heavier quarter type of scheme. So I think with BV, he kind of gave you an introduction to all the different types of defenses that could be ran. But when I was playing with Coach V, we were heavy quarter based. You know, I played corner for my true freshman year, and then my sophomore year, they moved me to safety. So I got a little bit of understanding of both sides of it. And when I got to the league, I actually played for more of a cover 3 scheme. So for me, it didn't really help as much. But when I moved around different teams, I was a little familiar with some of the things that different teams were doing. So it was a blessing, man. And Coach V is a technician as well. So even technique-wise, that translated over to the NFL, I feel like.
You mentioned it with the D-line, because I think even like the greatest expectations from a Homer Oklahoma fan was like, this defense is going to take another step in the right direction this year. But I don't think anybody expected like this dominant of a defense, especially considering the schedule. Do you think this defense is really truly elite, or are you kind of thinking, hey, let's see what they do in this back 3 games with Alabama, Missouri, and LSU waiting in the wings?
No, man, I think they are who they are. I think we're seeing it. I mean, it's getting pretty late in the season. So anything that would have popped up or showed up, it would have been exposed already. And, you know, we've had some bad plays here or there, maybe a bad game, if that, you would even call it that. But that happens, man. You playing in the SEC. You got NFL talent on every single team. So, nah, man, like, I'm with y'all. I didn't know what to expect. I won't say that I didn't expect it. I didn't know what to expect. But seeing how them boys are showing up week in and week out, the amount of pressure they're applying, a lot of that is scheme, but a lot of that is talent as well. Linebackers playing well. I love 10. I love 5. I think 5 is a
dog.
I think he should be top 3 rounds. For me personally, I think he's at least a 2nd round pick, depending on how he tests. But I love his game. I wanted him out of high school.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the back end, I think those guys are still trying to understand like what this looks like and kind of catch up to the standard. But even them, man, it's a different type of fire. And I know whenever Coach V's defense is really clicking, there's fire behind it. And so now that I'm seeing that, that's exciting. That's probably the most exciting part about it, for real.
No doubt. So before the show started, my dad wanted to make sure that I brought up a story about you. So it's against Kansas State. I think it might have been, was it your senior year or junior year? He said you were kind of Tyler Lockett, or it was one of the Lockett brothers was doing a number on OU, and you separated your shoulder before half, but you insisted on staying in the game and keeping playing. So can you just kind of walk us through that story? I mean, just nowadays, like, you know, guys will just sit out, you know, and protect their career for their senior year or to go to the NFL or whatever it is. So, I mean, just walk us through like what your thought process was, and I guess what about that unit or playing for who you were just made you, you know, want to stay in and play.
Yeah, man. So I gotta say this first, bro. I would have done anything for your pops, like Coach Stoops to this day, and I'm really disappointed that I haven't done a better job of like catching up with him and keeping up with him, because he is a man that greatly impacted my life just off of his leadership alone, how he moved as a man. And so I'll always appreciate him. So a lot of that, a lot of my decision making, especially during that game, was contributed to how much I admired him, I appreciated him, and how much I wanted to be, as much as I wanted to show up for the team, for real. But at the time, I know we needed the win. We couldn't afford any more losses. That was the year we went to the Sugar Bowl and played Alabama. And so I think that was like the second to last game. It was cold, whatever. And Tyler was Tyler at the time. I don't know if y'all were familiar with Tyler Lockett, but he was a problem, bro. He always gave us fits. And so that game just so happened he was getting the best of us, to say the least. And I just feel like I wasn't able to guard him as much as I wanted because he ended up in different positions where I wasn't at. And so I don't remember how I got hurt. I just remember it being cold as shit, bro. It was cold. And I was like, bro, I don't know how I'm going to do it. And you know, when you have an injury and it's cold, that doesn't mix well.
No, it makes it 10 times worse.
At least. And there was a real decision that had to be made. You know, I was trying to go first round in the draft. I was trying to go high. I was trying to solidify who I was as a cover corner, some of those things. And it never was a thought. And even coming out, you know, stepping on the field, I had a conversation with Coach Stoops, and I'm like, man, let me follow him. Like, let me just take him out the game. If I got to play with one arm, it is what it is. And by the grace of God, it worked out in my favor. It worked out in our favor as a team. We got the win, and it was kind of it.
That's wild, man.
That's a crazy story.
You came out and had a great half, yeah.
Hey, that's also like back then when the November games used to be really cold. Now I don't feel like they're as cold. Even like in 2015, like the run, like it felt like it was 32 degrees. Any Bedlam game.
That wasn't the year that the bus broke down, was it? Or the
that was 2015.
Plane broke down. Okay.
Yeah. What happened there?
Oh, so in 2015 it was Kansas State. So same game.
Kansas State again.
It was at Kansas State. We were coming off a loss against Texas. That was the first loss with Baker. We lost to a bad Texas team, and we got to the FBO, like where we load up for the plane, and the plane just broke down. It wouldn't start. And so they had to fly in another plane, and it didn't work either. And so we're sitting in this like small little terminal, because it's not like the regular terminal, for hours. I'm talking like 8 or 9 hours. And by the time nobody's eaten, we're supposed to be in Manhattan. And so the coaches just hop in their cars and they start going to every fast food restaurant that you've ever seen. And they just start bringing in food to everybody. I'm telling you, the happiest I've ever seen Mike Stoops is he went to like Chicago Pizza, and he came back with like 8 pizzas.
Man, that's crazy.
He's got the biggest smile you've ever seen on his face, and he's like the pizza delivery boy. And he's walking in.
That pregame fuel with fast food.
And guess what? Kicked their ass the next day, 55-3, and it was like, okay, we're back.
Come on,
that's Chad Johnson regiment right there.
And ever since that, the rest of the year, we had Tiff, the nutritionist. Your dad, Coach Stoops, was just like, screw this. Every Friday night at the hotel, we were bringing in late night snack, and it was like all fast food. And guess what? We only lost one game.
Yeah, there you go.
Bro, I think that's one thing that really gets swept under the rug. I feel like Coach Stoops was very mindful all the time, and he was very aware, and he didn't mind adapting and adjusting. And I feel like that was one of the biggest components to why we had the success we had, was really because of the leadership and his ability to kind of go with the flow. And that's just a perfect example of it, for real.
Listen to everything. Go ahead.
Well, so we were talking before this, just about our freshman cornerback, Gilroy. He's been balling. He's played a lot of ball so far, and he's had to go up against, one of the best receivers in Cam Coleman at Auburn, and he's got some tests ahead of him these next few weeks. Have you been able to watch him at all? He's only a freshman, but I mean, some people think he has first round potential.
I love him. I love his game. I think he's still young. So some of the things that may happen throughout the game, that kind of comes with the territory. But for me, man, I just love the mentality. Like, he has dog. It doesn't seem like he's scary. I could tell he's athletic. He has ball skills. I don't know, man. He just has a short-term memory loss. Like, he just shows up every single play, and I can admire that. You know what I mean? The one thing that I would encourage him to kind of stay on is just keep the foot to the pedal. Like, don't slow down. Don't get comfortable. Don't start buying into the hype. There's a lot of things that we can always be better at, all of us, really. But for him specifically, man, he could really help Coach V's defense go to another level, because if you have a corner who you don't have to worry about, and you free up one person for Coach V's defense and his complex blitz schemes, bruh, it's ugly. I would love to kind of come out there and watch him, man. I really would. I liked him in high school, though. I actually reached out to him in high school and just told him stay the course because he has a chance.
Do you think? I mean, OU fans have where I feel like we don't get too down, but he had a rough game against Auburn, but like you said, he kept showing up, and he's had a lot of PBUs and played great since. Do you feel like corner is the most criticized position other than quarterback, just because you're on that island?
Yeah, for sure. Corner, definitely. We used to say this all the time in the league. If you have 2 to 3 bad plays, 2 to 3 touchdowns, you've had a terrible game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To the outside looking in. So it's the same at corner. Tackle is pretty similar. Only thing about tackle, offensive tackle, things are kind of muddier, so you don't get as exposed. It's not just full out there. But as far as difficulty, man, outside of quarterback, athletically, I don't see anything that even compares, bro. Corner is tough, especially in the SEC.
Yeah.
And even in the league, I'm telling you, when you're watching on Sundays and with the new defensive rules with illegal contact and the way they call holding, it's like at some point, like when are they going to allow them to play defense? But that's a whole other beef I got with the NFL. It's just because, you got these type of athletes on receiver, and then these corners got to hold up for 5-6 seconds.
Tyreek Hill, and you can't touch him. Yeah,
can't touch him after 5 yards, or you got a penalty. It's like
getting hands on at the line. It would be hard enough. You know what I'm saying?
It kind of builds off. We were having this discussion before because in the NFL, of course, everybody's a dog. Everybody's talented, but when you have a true number one that you're playing against in college, do you think that's a little bit harder, or do you think there's more value in a college team having a true number one receiver than maybe it would be in the NFL? Just kind of thinking like Auburn with Cam Coleman, or Alabama's going to have Bernard and Ryan Williams.
Yeah, I've seen Jeremiah Smith take over a game. You know what I'm saying? Like it
just seems like it's a little bit more advantageous when a team's got a dog at receiver. What do you think? Because you played against all these great receivers in college and then in the NFL. Like, is there kind of more emphasis when a college team has like an absolute dog versus like the NFL? I mean, everybody's kind of dog.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think the interesting part about that is in the NFL, man, a number 2 in college could be a number 1 in the NFL. Mm-hmm. A lot of it is just schematics. So you take a guy like, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, Pakua for LA.
Yeah, Nakua.
Yeah, like I know he was nice. I think he was a 3rd-round pick. Guys had him as a really good player, but he just went to another level when he got under Sean McVay's scheme. So I do think that going against a number 1 in college, or even having a number 1 in college, is definitely advantageous. Like a Tavon Austin, for instance. Y'all remember that game, bro. Like when you have a player like that, you can put him anywhere. You really can't stop him because you don't have a bunch of number 1 corners on defense. And so you put a guy like a Tavon,
Tyler Lockett,
buddy from Ohio State. Yeah, Tyler Lockett, Jeremiah Smith, like those type of guys. And you go against a number 3 on a college defense, it's night-night. But the only thing about it in college is you may have a number 1 defensive end. You may have a defensive end that's a top 10 pick. And if you don't have an O-line that can protect your quarterback, you don't really get to expose the defense with your number 1 receiver. So it's kind of tit for tat in college. It can be helpful if you have a great team. But if you don't really get to see their abilities until they get to the NFL, where you do have offensive line who can protect, you do have the quarterback who can make those throws, etc.
Yeah, we're having a discussion because now all these college coaches and college front offices are trying to figure out how they value these different skill positions, and it seems like some teams are kind of thinking, maybe don't put as much money towards wide receiver, and then some teams are like, hey, let's go get some dogs. But so it's just kind of a good discussion as you see like how this college landscape goes with the way they allocate money, where it's like the NFL, it's like, hey, we're going to pay quarterbacks, left tackles, edge rushers, corners.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to pay that and let everything fall where it is. AC, tell the people, what are you up to? We talked a little bit off air, but like, what are you up to these days? Where are you at? People want to know.
Man, I'm farming. I'm out here farming. I don't know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? It's all by the grace of God. But yeah, my wife and I, we just bought some land not too long ago. Well, really 3 years ago, but we just moved out here full time about 6 months ago. And what we're trying to do, we're just trying to feed our community through a multitude of ways, not just through food, but through community, by education, through nature, etc. So I didn't really grow up like this, so it's definitely been a learning curve for me. But we out here in Terrell, Texas. Our farm is called Sozo Farms. We on pretty much all social media platforms. We have a website, etc. But we out here just trying to build the human spirit, the human experience, all the above. So that's where we at with it.
That's fantastic.
That's
man.
awesome. Yeah.
That's cool. I love when you're hearing like guys like do completely different things than what they would have done before. But AC, you're the man. Thanks for hopping on. For everybody watching, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. That helps us help you. And we'll catch you next week with another edition of The Family Business. Remember to keep in the family.